I ever imagine getting hacked by something that looks like, I don't know, a harmless phone charger? Or what about like a rubber ducky?
Yeah.
You'd think that's straight out of a spy movie,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But those are the kind of things that ThreatLocker was showing off at their cybersecurity event. Critterell Delightful.
Yeah, it really shows how, I guess, how vulnerable we are on the physical side.
Hmm.
People are so used to, worrying about software and all these advanced things that sometimes, like, a simple device that's disguised is all you need to get around everything.
So this Critterell Delightful event, they were really focusing on something called zero trust security, right?
Yeah.
So can you kind of explain what exactly that is?
Um, Imagine instead of trusting everything on your network until it's proven guilty, you treat everything like it's Delkey until it's proven innocent, basically. So it's a complete flip of how we normally think of security.
So instead of like, I lock my front door and I assume everything inside is safe,
Hmm.
I need to have a lock on every single room.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's basically what it is, yeah. And only give access to what needs it.
Makes sense.
Instead of like, everything has access, and you know what? If something goes wrong, then we'll figure it out.
Right, right.
That's the old way of doing it.
So they had all of these really wild demonstrations, like this rubber ducky thing,
Yeah.
which honestly kind of sounds pretty cute.
Yeah, I mean, the name doesn't sound too threatening.
It doesn't, but apparently it is.
This rubber ducky is basically, it looks like a USB stick, like a normal USB stick that you would use.
Right.
But what it does is as soon as you plug it in, it'll inject pre-programmed commands. So it doesn't matter. It bypasses like USB blocking and all this other stuff because it's,
So it can steal sensitive data in seconds?
yeah, it basically, as soon as you plug it in, it's like, I'm just going to download everything I can say. I'm going to send it to, to my server, to the hacker server, and then, they can do whatever they want with it.
And the computer has no idea?
The computer, no, it thinks you plugged in a keyboard, essentially.
Wow. That's unsettling, to say the least.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, this is crazy, there was a Tesla employee who was offered like a ton of money to plug one of these rubber duckies in.
Yeah, $500,000 they offered him.
$500,000.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, I guess it shows you how much is at stake.
Yeah, that's one side of it, right? The other side is, how do you even control for that?
Right. You can't exactly background check everybody who walks past your computer.
Right, like how are you supposed to stop that? And that's where, zero trust comes in.
Right.
And also educating your employees on, social engineering,
Right.
like phishing and stuff like that.
Don't plug in random things that people hand you, I guess.
Yeah, don't plug in random things, like a USB that you find in a parking lot or,
Right, which I've done.
yeah, like who knows, right?
Oh, yeah, no, totally.
Be careful what you click on, those types of things.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about training the people using it.
It's the human element, always.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, you got to train the humans just as much as you've got to train, or you've got to protect your software, I guess.
Okay, so moving on, because we're going deeper into the spy thriller aspect of all of this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this OMG cable.
Yeah.
That sounds like, I'm not even sure what that is, but it sounds terrifying.
So imagine plugging in what you think is a charging cable
Right.
into your phone or your laptop or whatever.
Right.
And instead of it just being a normal cable,
Yeah.
it actually has a little antenna in it that can connect to like a hacker's device
Oh, wow.
wirelessly.
Okay.
So you plug this thing in, you think you're just charging your phone, and next thing you know,
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
yeah,
So even charging your phone could make you vulnerable.
pretty much, yeah, any type of, I guess, physical connection
Wow.
can be, used against you, I guess, or has the potential to.
And I read that like they were showing this, I think someone infiltrated an entire medical facilities network using one of these.
Yeah, they did that at the event.
Really?
Yeah, they basically, somebody pretended to, like, drop their phone.
Right.
And then they plugged this OMG cable into a computer that was just, sitting there, plugged in.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they had access to the entire network.
Oh my gosh, that is terrifying. So, I mean, it makes you wonder, like, how can we even trust using like a charging station?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Like even in an airport or
Public charging, be careful.
anywhere, or even, I guess, plugging in your own device, like you would think you would be safe.
Right, but it's like, who knows who else was plugged into that before you.
Right, exactly.
Or, if you're at a hotel, who knows who was in that room before you if they left something plugged in.
Right, that's true. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential there for somebody to really do some damage.
So, I mean, I guess being aware, like you said, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But are there other things like what can we do to protect ourselves against something like this?
Well, public charging stations, I would just say try to avoid them if you can.
If you can, yeah.
But if you have to, there are these things called USB data blockers.
Okay.
And what those do is they allow for charging, so the power to go through, but they block any data transfer.
Oh, okay.
So it's essentially like a little shield
Okay.
you put in between your phone and then the actual charging port.
Okay, so it's like an adapter.
Yeah, it's like a little dongle, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And that just prevents any malicious activity from happening while you're charging your phone.
That makes sense. So it's just an extra layer of protection.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's really the easiest way to do it.
Okay. Well, that's a good tip.
And it highlights, the whole wireless thing that we were talking about.
Right. Because we're so used to connecting wirelessly now.
We are, with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and all that stuff.
Exactly. Everything's wireless, which is great.
It is convenient.
It's super convenient until it's not, I guess.
Right.
So then Threat Locker also talked about this thing called a flipper. Which I think of dolphins. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, no, this one's a little bit different.
A little scarier.
This one's a little scarier than a dolphin.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it can be just as, I guess, hard to catch.
Hard to catch, right?
So basically, it's a device that can mimic Bluetooth signals.
Oh.
Like from your headphones or...
What? Wait, hold on a second.
It's crazy.
So you're telling me, someone could unlock my car with this?
Potentially, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I mean, car manufacturers are obviously aware of this, and they're trying to make it harder for people to do that, but it's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing can mimic all sorts of wireless signals. It can even mimic, your car key fob, so...
Okay, but at the event, I think they showed how it can even hijack, a MacBook, right?
Yeah, they did. That was one of their demonstrations.
Okay, hijack a MacBook. Okay, yeah, how does that even work?
So basically, it uses the same, we trust our devices, right?
Right.
When you connect your AirPods to your phone, you just assume that that's your AirPods, right?
Right.
You don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
Well, the flicker can actually mimic that signal.
Oh, wow.
So it can pretend to be your AirPods.
Okay.
And then your MacBook will just connect to it like nothing's going on.
So the MacBook just blindly connects, it doesn't even question it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Especially if it's something that's already been paired before, it's less likely to, flag it as suspicious.
And then from there, they can get access to everything.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, once they have that connection, it's kind of like opening a back door to your computer. So they might be able to, steal your data. They could even activate your webcam, your microphone.
Oh my gosh, that's so creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty scary stuff.
It is. Okay, it's like Black Mirror stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrifying. So, I mean, I guess you can't just stop using Bluetooth, right? That's not really an option.
No, not really. I mean, especially these days.
Everything's
Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could, but it would make your life pretty difficult.
Yeah, true.
But there are some things you can do.
Okay.
First of all, make sure your devices are up to date, like software updates.
Okay, so those random reminders are actually important.
They are. They're annoying, but they're important.
Okay, good to know.
Because a lot of times, those updates will include security patches that address known vulnerabilities. So it's they're basically fixing the holes that these hackers are trying to exploit.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, keep your stuff up to date. That's the number one thing.
Okay, good. Good to know.
And then also, be mindful of your Bluetooth settings.
Like what, for example?
So, a lot of devices will let you, make your Bluetooth, discoverable only to paired devices.
Okay.
So that adds, an extra layer of security. So, if someone's, walking by with a flipper, they're not going to be able to just automatically connect to your phone because it's not openly broadcasting, hey, I'm a Bluetooth device, connect to me.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like putting it on a private setting or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good to know. But it just feels like even with all of this, it's just we're constantly playing catch up with the hackers.
It does feel that way sometimes.
They're always one step ahead.
Yeah, they're always finding new ways to, get around whatever the latest security measures are.
This is a game of cat and mouse.
Exactly, it is.
Okay, so then that brings us back to, I guess, the importance of this zero trust.
Right, because with zero trust, it's it doesn't matter if they're one step ahead.
Right.
because you're not trusting anything anyway.
Exactly. You're already assuming that they're there.
Exactly.
That's so smart. Okay.
So even if they do find a way in, it's not like they're going to, you know, have access to everything.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Because it can be overwhelming, I think, for like a normal person to like wrap their head around all of this.
It is. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
And it's constantly changing, too, so.
Exactly. Exactly.
What's true today might not be true tomorrow.
Okay, so with zero trust, I mean, it's not just a philosophy. It's like, how do you actually implement that?
Right. So there are, like, concrete things you can do.
Okay.
And this is actually something that ThreatLocker, they're really big on this, and it's called application whitelisting.
Okay, and what is that?
So basically, you create a list of applications that are allowed to run on your devices,
Okay.
and then anything that's not on that list is automatically blocked.
Oh, so even if they get like a piece of malware on your system, it can't even run.
Exactly. It's like having a bouncer at the door of your computer, and they're like, sorry, you're not on the list, you can't come in.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So even if a hacker does manage to, you know, get past your other defenses, if they try to run something malicious, it's just not going to work.
Oh, that's so smart. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really effective way to prevent, like, a lot of these attacks.
Okay, so we've got zero trust as kind of the big picture, and then we've got things like application whitelisting as like the practical, here's how you actually do it.
Right, exactly.
Okay, and ThreatLocker is a company, I mean, they started as like a small startup, right?
Yeah, they were just like a 3-person team in Orlando back in 2017.
Wow, okay.
And now they protect over 50,000 companies.
Wow, that's incredible.
Is that pretty amazing?
So what's driving that kind of growth?
Well, I think part of it is just, you know, the increasing awareness of cybersecurity threats.
Yeah.
Like, you can't turn on the news these days without hearing about some kind of data breach or cyber attack.
It's true, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's like a daily occurrence now.
Right, so companies are starting to realize, like, hey, this is a real threat. We need to take this seriously.
So ThreatLocker is kind of, rising to meet that demand.
Yeah, I mean, they're not just like a software company. They're really trying to, like, change the whole approach to cybersecurity, and I think that's what's resonating with people.
And a big part of that, I think, is this idea of, like, constant learning, right? Like, it's not a one-time thing.
Right, you can't just, like, set it and forget it.
Right, because the threats are constantly evolving.
Exactly. You got to stay ahead of the curve.
So how do you do that? Like, how does ThreatLocker approach that?
Well, one of the things they do is they offer these, like, controlled simulations.
Okay.
So it's basically like a cyber war game,
Interesting.
but in a safe environment.
So you're not actually, like, putting your company at risk.
Right, exactly. It's like a training exercise.
Okay.
So they can simulate, like, different kinds of attacks.
Okay.
And then you can see how your defenses hold up.
Oh, that's so smart. So it's like a flight simulator, but for cyber attacks.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you can practice your response, see what works, what doesn't.
Exactly. And the good thing about ThreatLocker simulations is that they can tailor them
Oh, okay.
to your specific industry.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, like, if you're a bank, you're going to face different threats than, say, a hospital.
Right.
So they can create, like, a simulation that's very specific to the types of attacks that you're most likely to see.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like it's not just like a generic, oh, here's a cyber attack. It's like, here's what's probably going to happen to you.
Right. They can make it very realistic.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But let's bring it back to, our listeners for a second.
Sure.
They might be thinking, like, okay, this is all fascinating, but, like, what does this mean for me?
Right.
Like, in my everyday life?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest takeaway is that, cybersecurity isn't just for big companies.
Right.
It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, everybody uses technology these days.
Exactly.
And, think about all the information that you access online, your banking information, your emails.
Yeah, all of it, it's all online now?
It's all online. So, it's important for everybody to be aware of these threats and take precautions.
So I guess, what are some of those, like, everyday things that people can do?
Well, first of all, don't plug in random USBs that you find.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's like a classic way to get malware.
Okay, and public Wi-Fi.
Public Wi-Fi, be careful.
Be careful, because I use it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's convenient, but it's not always secure.
Okay.
So if you're going to use public Wi-Fi, I would say, like, use a VPN.
Okay, so it's like an extra layer.
Exactly. It's like creating a little tunnel
Okay.
for your data, so it's harder for people to snoop.
Okay, that makes sense. And passwords.
Passwords, yes. Strong, unique passwords for every account.
You know,
Don't use the same password for everything.
right. Don't be that person.
Yeah. And two-factor authentication whenever possible. It
Right.
just adds like another layer of security.
Okay, so it's all about like being aware, being prepared, and being proactive. It's
Exactly.
not about like living in fear of technology. It's about just using it safely.
Right. Exactly. Be smart about it.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive on cybersecurity,
Yeah.
what's like the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
That cybersecurity is a journey, not a destination.
Oh,
It's something that you have to constantly be thinking about, evolving, learning, and, adapting to new threats as they come out.
because like you said, it's constantly changing.
It is, yeah. So, stay informed, stay curious, and stay safe out there.
I love it. Great advice. So to our listeners, thank you for joining us for another deep dive, and we'll see you next time.